Meet Johnny. Because of his extraordinary memory, his friends call him Johnny Mnemonic. But Johnny has no cybernetic implant in his brain to help him memorize so many things. While his colleagues are indulging in smart drugs, Johnny learns in a natural, systematic, and proactive way. He's just a smart guy who has learned a very effective learning technique and knows how to use his brain to make his life easier. Wherever he goes, he has complete self-confidence in his learning skills because he carries in his mind an extremely useful tool to help him learn any type of information. This learning tool, called the Super Clever Advanced Learning Method, or SCALM, helps him to memorize any kind of material, lessons, essays, speeches, and even entire books. In short, he has a universal method that helps him memorize efficiently hundreds of pages of horribly abstract, unattractive, and unrelated information. Today, Johnny has to learn a geography lesson. Let's see how he uses the SCALM method to learn this lesson. First of all, he reads the material and sketches a mind map of it. This way, he has a visual plan of the whole material. Then, he starts chunking the material into smaller, easy-to-handle pieces. Thus, the entire material will become an easy-to-use list of items. The most important stage of the method is that of association. Each chunk will be transformed into a memorable image like an object, a person, or an animal by applying a few simple memory techniques. Here's a chunk that contains a list of items: the 5 Great Lakes, Huron, Ontario, Erie, Michigan, and Superior. Johnny will turn it into an easy-to-remember acronym, HOMES, which he will note next to that chunk. And here is a larger list to learn: the Central American countries from north to south: Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. Johnny applies another technique called the sentence method and turns this list into an easy-to-remember mnemonic phrase. More big gorillas eat hot dogs, not corn pops, and notes it next to that chunk. Johnny likes hip-hop music, and sometimes it comes easy to him to make rhymes or poems, or even short stories, to help him memorize his lists. Here is how he remembers the year of Christopher Columbus's discovery of the Americas. Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. To remember the 7 continents, Johnny uses a simple technique called the story method. Here's the story that will help him remember the continents. North America married South America, and they went to Europe for their honeymoon. Soon after, they had quadruplets who all had A names: Africa, Australia, Asia, who was the biggest, even though he had the shortest name, and Antarctica, the coldest child. Further, he has to learn a more difficult geographical term called geosyncline. The perfect method for memorizing it is called the sound-alike technique, and works by replacing unfamiliar words with other words that sound similar. For Johnny, geosyncline sounds like Joe and cycling, and he will remember this term by using the image of Joe Pesci cycling. Numbers and data are also easy to memorize for Johnny because he uses a technique that helps him transform them into words and then into memorable images known as the major system. The length of the Mississippi River, 3,768 kilometers, will be memorized using the major system as follows. 3,768 is divided into 2 digits, 37 and 68, each of them becoming a group of consonants, MK and CF, and then 2 words, Mickey and coffee. To memorize this number, Johnny will imagine Mickey Mouse with a coffee in his hand, counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. The height of Denali, the tallest mountain in North America, 6,190 meters, will become the consonants JD and PZ, which can be memorized by imagining Judy Garland eating pizza on the top of this mountain. After he transformed the material into images, all he has to do now is to give life to these images by placing them in familiar places in his life. For this purpose, Johnny applies a very efficient ancient technique called the memory palace method, which gives him an orderly structure of where to place his mnemonic images. In his imagination, he places his images along his daily road to school. So, in front of his door, he sees two little homes reminding him of the Great Lakes. Then, in the middle of the street, he sees two giant gorillas eating hot dogs, reminding him of the Central American countries. Gorillas are hit by a ship sailing down the street, reminding him of Columbus. A little further on, in front of the barber shop on the street's corner, he sees a family with 4 children who reminds him of the continent story. And then, in the bus station, he imagines Joe Pesci cycling. Under the tree in front of the school, he sees Mickey Mouse with a Starbucks coffee in his hand, counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. And on the school stairs, he imagines Judy Garland eating a slice of pizza. As you can see, Johnny just turned the abstract information into a cartoon movie. I think you can imagine how easy it is now for Johnny to memorize these images. He just mentally travels along his way to school, and the pictures will automatically appear there. For tomorrow's lesson, Johnny will choose another journey, the route he goes through the park when he walks his dog. Any real or mental journey can give Johnny a new mental palace to memorize his lessons. In a few days, he will give a speech at an event organized by a student association, and of course, he will memorize the speech by applying the SCALM method. The rooms of his house will become a familiar mental palace for the images of his speech. Here's how easy it is to learn anything using the SCALM method. By following its steps, you can effectively memorize entire books. I'm not saying it's easy because it involves a work of deconstructing, organizing, and reconstructing, recoding the material, but in essence, it is very simple and most of the time fun to use. We all love cartoons, and the SCALM method helps us become the directors of our own cartoon mental movies, which helps us learn and memorize in the long run. We are dealing with a very advanced and effective proactive learning method, but at the same time, it's easy to learn and fun to use. In addition, I must tell you that the memory techniques used by the SCALM method are also used by the mental athletes in memory competitions because they are very efficient. I hope I have convinced you of its value, so I am waiting for you in this introductory course to learn more about it.